Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to this new appointment with the morning briefing. As usual, we do a recap of what happened yesterday. Essentially, it was a range-bound day. As we extensively announced in the chat, the price remained essentially unchanged, and the volumes were quite low yesterday across all indices, including bonds. The only asset that stood out in terms of volume among those I follow was gold. For the rest, volumes were very, very, very low. What can we say about today? What kind of day should we expect? Today is a day, let's say, in my opinion, also probably transitional, which won't tell us much more than we already know unless something comes up. Then, the statements or announcements, always regarding the war, the trade war over tariffs. And so we need to stay alert, and follow, a little bit the developments of this matter. Essentially, from a macro perspective, today we only have the jolts, the new job openings created in the United States. And it's the only data, that stands out today. Then, the focus for this week, as we mentioned yesterday in the morning briefing, is more towards the end of the week. And starting from tomorrow, with the first quarterly reports coming in from the big companies, and then leading up to Friday with the non-farm payrolls, which will certainly provide some additional insights on what will be the future developments. With this brief introduction, as usual, let's move on now. To take a look at some charts from an operational perspective. This is the Nasdaq. As usual, we start with the Nasdaq. At the moment, we are working within the range of the BC3 levels. In short, this is the new version, so it's clear and evident. In short, it helps us immediately identify what the first range of the day is and what the trend is. In short, essentially both yesterday's ranges and today's forming information are overlapping. So essentially, we're probably expecting a day similar to yesterday with this BC3 area acting as the range. We'll see if they might find the strength to break out on one side or the other. Yes. If we certainly look at it from a perspective on a larger graph, the T with a higher time frame. This is a 4-hour chart. We see that we've indeed stayed there, as we were saying, a range day, and we might probably remain in this limbo even today. Because as I was saying, there are no significant data releases unless we find the strength and momentum since we are at the turn of the month. So there are also portfolio rebalancings of investment firms to consider that they could certainly push the price in one direction or the other depending on how these portfolios need to be rebalanced. Perfect. So there's little to add compared to what we said yesterday. The levels have remained. Those on the downside, we need to monitor area 360, 290. Roughly speaking, that this pivot made yesterday, 250. So area with this PV here and these lows here. This is the area to monitor between 250 and 360 for the Nasdaq. While on the upside, obviously, we are currently monitoring this area here, which I consider the most interesting. In short, which is this entire area here where we are working right now. So below 19.7, in short, it needs to be passed through then. Here's a potential attack in the 19.9 to 20,000 area. As we said yesterday, okay, let's move on to the pool standard. Here is a similar discussion. At the moment, we are still working within BC3 levels upwards, the level to monitor, even if it's a bit muddled in these days, but it always remains this. 5.5 and 60, so in this case, we extended up to 5.5 and 80. In short, we allow ourselves these 20 points of tolerance with a market that even with low volumes yesterday still maintained good intrinsic volatility, and certainly breaking this level could push prices even into the 5,630, 5,650 area. On the downside, of course, we monitor Friday's lows, and these are the lows recorded yesterday, so the 5,495 to 480 area. In short, it's the area to watch. The range could indeed be this in short for the day. Between 5,900 and 5,490 in short. With these 100 points, the game will probably be played today for the standard point, unless of course there are news or statements that could certainly go beyond purely technical aspects and thus move the market. Okay, let's move on to the other American futures, starting with the Dow Jones. Here it is. Obviously a similar situation. We are working above the hardware. So in short, there is really nothing to say. The volumes are also low. So that's all. The movement has been like this all night, really very low. Little to add compared to what we said yesterday. The levels to monitor remain the same today. We are watching 45, 46, and 50 for potential upward breaks, while on the downside we are monitoring these highs and these lows recorded yesterday with a possible extension here on this pivot point recorded, which then corresponds to today's SD2. Perfect. Let's look at the Russell. Here it is on the upside, obviously 82,000, as we have said and repeated several times. Between 1,085 and 2,000 is the area to break upwards. On the downside, it seems quite evident. This support here around 1,040 to 1,050, quite clear. So a range between RD2, SD2, that is RD1, SD2. At the moment, this is the area to monitor for the Russell. Okay, let's look at the DAX, which Monod is following a bit with very low volumes. It made this double top, a nice pattern, textbook-like. At the moment, the market has been open for about 20 minutes. They are attacking RD1, which then corresponds more or less to the income of these two highs made yesterday. The potential break of this area could easily bring prices into the 20 and 7 area, while holding this area could provide the large range, which in this case we can identify between HW and SD0. SD0 is an important level to maintain because then, well, this SD1 as well. We monitor SD1 on the downside because a break of SD1 could bring prices into this VIX area, which then corresponds to this entire area here around 22,000, a round number. On the upside, we obviously monitor around 20,600, so between 25,600 and 2600, with potential bullish pushes up to 20,700. Okay, let's move on to oil. Here it is. Thank you. Yesterday it pulled back a little. We are resting right at the 61.50 level. In short, a little below at the moment actually. We are working on it because the level was 62.50, not 61.50. We broke it. This area here, so it's working below. In short, in a dangerous way, it could easily go to test the 60 area. Then maybe try to test re-entry. In short, in this limbo, if we look at it on a chart, here is H1. We become more aware of a few things about where we are resting. So on this entire area that we have monitored of this movement, then Petzo said he had tried to build a base. He attempted. It was rejected if they are retesting it from above. So holding this area could bring prices back to the 64.50 area. The break of this could easily bring prices first to test the minimum range of today in the 59.50, 59.60 area, and then any potential bearish attacks. In short, it might suggest that, well, I don't like to imagine. Okay, today, let's take a look at gold, of course. At the moment, well, it has retraced a little bit last night, even though yesterday, well, it had recovered quite a bit. It had also broken, well, the previous high, but then, well, it didn't hold it. The confirmation of the breakout and is working on it again below. It's trying to get back in. So in this year, I probably haven't updated correctly the base. Just a second while we go ahead and do it. 28 and 29. Yes, Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this area here is the one to pass. So where we have just tested it now. So 330, 345 is the first area to break downward. Obviously, it must hold. Thank you. This level BCD 33 of 33.10.33. In short, more or less, this is the area to hold if it should break this area. I also expect a break of this, honestly, of this type done in the 3280 area. Upward, obviously, as we said, we monitor this area here of 33, 53, 60. Okay, let's take a look. This is the LSP, the index. We are working above a partial recovery, in short, of that gap and therefore of this area. Here, therefore, case there, a possible rebreak. This is an hourly chart. Therefore, a break of 5,750 could easily bring prices into the 660 area. In short, with a nice push. Conversely, of course, we monitor this 54 and 70 on the downside, this nice PV, because a break of this could easily bring the price back to test. In short, this area of the lows here, absolutely yes. Okay, having looked at this, let's take a look at Bitcoin, which we have now included. Here it is, Bitcoin. It is also working within this wide range of levels. BC3 just below today's HV, but it's a bit of a range. As we can monitor, the area to pass remains this 95.596, which seems nice and clear to me. A nice resistance. At the moment, we are more or less in the middle of this range downward. Obviously, we are monitoring 93.6, 93.4, 93.6, which then corresponds to the minimum of the BC3 area. So with the volatility inherent in the instrument, we can certainly expect even a test of 93,000, which then corresponds to these lows here and to this nice low here, from which this nice recovery wave started perfectly. That said, as always, we have reached the end of this morning briefing. As always, leave a like on the video. We'll catch up later in the chat. Thank you. Thank you all for your attention.